Bienvenidos. Welcome everyone to Dairy World Tour Episode 2. My name is Ann Lakuta. I'm one of the Health and Wellness Managers at Dairy West, and I'm thrilled to be your host again today for our second stop on Dairy World Tour. And we're going to explore all about the culture and cuisine of Mexico. So we have two absolutely wonderful guest speakers with us today, and they're going to take us on a virtual tour of Mexico. They're going to share a ton of information about the culture of Mexico and also about authentic Mexican cuisine. Chef Iliana de la Vega is joining us today as our Mexico culinary expert. Chef Iliana owns El Naranjo restaurant in Austin, Texas, and her restaurant was recognized as the best Mexican restaurant in Austin. She also owns Mexican Culinary Traditions, which is a culinary travel company that takes small groups of individuals throughout various regions of Mexico to explore the food there. And that's just a small slice of the work that Iliana does. So we're going to hear more from her in just a moment. And then Connie Guttersen is joining us as our nutrition expert. And Connie is not only a registered dietitian nutritionist, but she also has her PhD in nutrition. And Connie has written 3 books, and among various roles in culinary nutrition, she was an instructor at the Culinary Institute of America. So again, you're going to hear so much more from them and really learn their full stories, but we're very excited to have them with us today. So before I pass it off to them and we officially get started, I have just a couple of things to cover to make sure all of you have the best experience possible. So first things first, the dairy product box. So all of you should have received your Mexico product box last week via mail. So we included some surprises this time. You should have received corn tortillas from La Flor, which is based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, as well as a molenillo. So that was the wooden toy looking thing that you received. And that's actually a wooden whisk that is traditionally used to froth Mexican hot chocolate, which you also received a recipe for that. And then of course you had a sampling of some delicious dairy products made from milk produced by dairy farmers in our region, so Idaho and Utah. And you had Meadow Gold cultured buttermilk, you had Dairy Gold Mexican style sour cream, you have Ballard's Idaho Danish Pearl Gouda, and then Heber Valley artisan cheese queso fresco. So as you try these products and as you experiment with the recipes, we would love to hear about it. So make sure to share with us and your friends on social media using the hashtag Dairy World Tour. So a couple of the products in your box are going to be used during the demo today. And so the demo is going to occur about midway through the episode. Chef Iliana is going to be showing us her delicious Rajas con Crema recipe. And we set out a couple of prep steps ahead of time. So if you do want to participate, hopefully you were able to do these prep steps. It'll be easier to follow along with Iliana. But just in case you didn't, you actually have time now. So they are on the screen here, but we're going to actually pop those in the chat as well. So you'll be able to access them there, along with the link to the recipe online. And then of course you have the recipe on one of your recipe cards that came in your box. So speaking of the chat, let's talk a little bit about Zoom for a second. So we are utilizing the chat today, and we would love for you to use it to engage with us and with the speakers and with each other throughout the presentation. So go ahead and look for the chat button at the bottom of your screen and pop that open. It should open up a tab on the right hand of your screen, and you'll see some people are using it already. Feel free to pop in there your name and where you're joining from. We'd love to see who's on the line with us today. And then if you look at the bottom, you'll see that you can chat to everyone, or you can choose a specific person. So if you have a friend or family member that's joining and you want to, talk directly with them and connect with them, you can do that as well. And then last thing about the chat, we are using it for questions. So I hope you have lots of questions to ask, and we want you to ask them. So go ahead and put those in the chat. We're going to be tracking them throughout, and then we have saved some time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A. So we'll, Connie and Iliana will get to as many of those questions as they can at the end, except for during Iliana's demo, we're going to take questions on the spot. So we want to make sure if you have any, confusion or questions around the instructions or need some clarity, put those in the chat. I'll be watching it and I'll go ahead and ask Iliana for you. All right, so before we officially get started, we actually have one question for all of you. So you're gonna see a poll pop up on your screen in just a minute here. There it is. So we wanna know, have you visited Mexico before? Have you lived there? Are you wanting to go? We're gonna give everyone about 15 to 30 seconds to answer this, and then we'll share the results. Oh, lots of responses coming in. All right, get in your answer if you haven't yet. All right, so quite a mix. So a lot of people have visited numerous times, once before. No one's lived there. So this is, on our first episode, we had a couple people that lived in Italy and then quite a few people wanting to visit. It's on their bucket list. Awesome. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's get to what we've all been waiting for. I would like to welcome Connie Guttersen and Iliana de la Vega to the episode. Thank you so much for joining us today, you guys. We figured that we would kick off today with a question for you. We thought, that's probably the best way for both of you to tell your story and for the audience to really get to know you. So Connie, let's go ahead and start with you. I'd love for you to share with the audience, what does food mean to you and how has your connection to Mexico impacted that meaning?
Thank you, Anne. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. And it's a great question. I can tell you that food for us was part of our lifestyle and heritage. I was raised on the border of Texas in the Rio Grande Valley, which is as far south as you can get in Texas. And I'm first generation Italian. So you can only imagine between an Italian family that loves food and being so close to the Mexican border, all of my memories, my traditions, holidays were tied to food, delicious food. And it's not a surprise that I ended up in the career of food, nutrition, and the culinary arts. And I've just been fascinated by the wonders of nutrition that are in the most delicious foods and have really held close to my heart that flavor is health. And, I think it's what really brought me to my destiny with the Culinary Institute of America for over 20 years, where we translate nutrition through traditional diets and the wisdom of these amazing foods, and to my current position, which I hold very dear to my heart, which is the chef program in San Antonio, Texas, where we work with children and really inspiring them to enjoy cooking.
Oh, Connie, sorry, there we go. Okay, we were seeing your screen for a moment.
And just to end on a wonderful note, I mentioned the chef program in San Antonio, and the Culinary Institute of America is, really bringing me to my destiny with food and the appreciation of nutrition. But I have to tell a great story that I think it was about 30 years ago, I went to a trip with the CIA through Oaxaca, where I actually, with my husband, dined in Chef Iliana's wonderful restaurant, El Naranjo. So who would know that 30 years later, here we are, Iliana, we presented.
No, maybe 20, let's say 20.
CIA, and here we are. And so I'm just honored and thrilled, and I'm so happy to be here celebrating this cuisine that I absolutely love.
Connie, thank you. And we're thrilled to have you, and we're thrilled to have the two of you together. And we're going to get to hear much more from Connie in a minute. She has a lot of, great information to share about authentic Mexican cuisine and the nutritional benefits of it. But Iliana, I'm going to pass the question on to you as well. So, same thing. What does food mean to you, and how has your connection to Mexico impacted that meaning?
Okay, well, my connection in Mexico is just because I'm Mexican, first number thing. So I was born in Mexico City from a Oaxacan family. For those who know a little bit of Mexico, Oaxaca has been like the epicenter of the cooking mostly, especially lately. But, when I was growing up, it wasn't, nobody knew not much about Oaxaca. Anyway, I had my family from my mother's side is from Oaxaca, so I learned the cuisine. We traveled quite a bit to Oaxaca and throughout Mexico because my dad also loved any kind of food. So we traveled to different parts of the world, but also throughout Mexico to find something that he had, the whim for, as we say, the antojo for, the antojito. So we travel sometimes on the over the weekend to a place in Veracruz to get some picadas, or going to Puebla to get chiles en nogada, you name it, anything like that. But also travel throughout the world. And also, one of the things is, we had a restaurant. My husband and I opened a restaurant in Naranjo that Connie was mentioning right now, in many years ago. And after some turmoil and things, we were very successful there. But it was 2006. We had to close it because it was a bad situation, and the economy got devastated in Oaxaca. So we moved to the States, and little after, I began to work at the Culinary Institute of America as their specialist in Mexican cuisine. So it was a really fun time for me because, it was work, obviously, but it was a great work for me because I was doing a lot of research, so traveled throughout Mexico and some other Latin American countries to create the Latin American program for graduate students. So I did that. I worked for them for 5 years, and then eventually we opened our own restaurant here in Austin, Texas, where we are. And I quit the CIA and I'm dedicated to the restaurant. I still do a bunch of things with the CIA, presenting conferences. That's how I re-meet with Connie. And so that's what we do. Our restaurant is fully Mexican, traditional Mexican. And I keep in touch with my country, original country, throughout the trips that I do with my daughter, and the culinary trips that we do to Oaxaca, Mexico City, Michoacan, and many more other places to come. But that's what we do. So I hope I answer that question.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's wonderful. And again, we're, extremely thrilled and grateful to have you both here. So Iliana, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can get started with the first part of the episode today.
Absolutely.
And here we go.
Okay, well, where is Mexico now? We are south of the border with the United States. So we are a tiny country compared to the United States, but it's very rich in culture. And also we have one of the most, our country has many microclimates to compare, different types of food that it grows in, especially, plants and things like that. The biodiversity in Mexico is huge. So for the next one, Connie, thank you. Thank you very much. So here's a little bit more about Americas, the greenhouses of America. The first one on the top, you will see that is half of Mexico, to Central America. That's what we call Mesoamerica, is where the corn was born. It was, land of many things like tomatoes and other things. Then you have a tiny little stretch that goes from the north of, like Venezuela and Colombia throughout, the Patagonia. And so that is what is called the Andes. So in that areas, like we got like potatoes and other things from that area. And then we have Brazil, and other parts of also the north part of the South America that is called the Amazon Basin. And is, place where it was born the cacao, but they didn't do anything until it reached Mexico, and we got the chocolate now. So there are the three greenhouses most important in Latin America. So I guess it's good for you to know. And then we're going to Mexico now. From the central part to the south of Mexico, we have a type of cuisine that is more elaborate, where you find more moles and things like that, like more complex cuisine. From the north part of Mexico, the land is more arid. There is not much more to offer. So the people work harder to get the ingredients and things like that. So it's richer, the culture in general, in culinary culture in the south part of Mexico than in the north, but still it diversifies, and it's also a wonderful type of cuisine. So for the next one, yes. Okay, so a little bit of things, some of the places that you may have known or heard, like Puebla. Puebla is very central Mexico, and in Puebla is like the famous mole poblano. What everybody refers in the world as mole, they will think of the mole poblano, which is sweeter, kind of brownish sauce with chocolate in it and things. But it's not only the only mole that we have in Mexico, but it's the most famous. Also, another dish is the chiles en nogada, and the rajas con crema that we're gonna do today. We are using chiles poblanos, so it's also referred to this area. So the next one. Yes, Oaxaca. So I used to live there. I love Oaxaca. It's beautiful, it's rich in culture, and it's one, I mentioned that Mexico has a lot of biodiversity. Well, I'm on Mexico. In Mexico, we have a lot of biodiversity. This is the place with more with more of it in the world. One of it, there are like 3 places, and this is one. So you have, things that only grow in Oaxaca because of the specific terroir, and also the weather, and so the different conditions to make one ingredient. So always have been the discussion between if the corn was born in, because it's going to be an important topic for later, it was born either in Puebla or in Oaxaca. So I will believe that it was in Oaxaca, obviously, for the next one. Mexico City, I was born there. It's one of the biggest and largest cities in the world. It's like 20 million or more and counting, I guess. People living there. And it's very cosmopolitan. So for the people, sometimes I'm still asked if we in Mexico are still riding donkeys and things like that. Well, definitely not. This is one of the most cosmopolitan cities. You can find restaurants in Mexico City or stores that you can only find in London, Paris, and New York. So it's very cosmopolitan, but we are also a land of controversies that, we have the poverty on one side and the very richest people on the other side. Michoacan, this is central north, and Michoacan is very rich in culture as well. So this is the cathedral there, and they have a different cuisine and it's very indigenous too. It's surrounded by lakes, which is the name of Michoacan comes from, and it has a wonderful cuisine. The best cream I ever tasted in my life is from Michoacan, by the way. From the next. And Monterrey, this is in the north part of Mexico. So more arid, as you can see the landscape, but also, it's very industrial. So the people work really hard, and they have always been, and it's very rich in money mostly, but they have ingredients like the cabrito is very from that area. And also wonderful tortillas, the flour tortillas will be prevalent in the north, as well as the pinto beans, or the what we call frijoles bayos. So we have also that difference between the north and the south. And Veracruz, this is on the coast of Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico, and it's also very rich in culture, obviously based mostly on seafood and all those things, but also delicious combinations because it was the entrance of the Manila galleons through Veracruz. So a lot of the people use a lot of olive oil and things like that you can maybe not think about that in Mexico. Well, that is what happens in Veracruz. And Yucatan. Yucatan, we have other ingredients, very different ingredients in that area. And that area is like the achiote, and it's also rich and delicious. The cochinita pibil is a dish that is coming from this area. Very rich in culture as well. Indigenous and pre-Columbian archaeological sites as well, like Tulum that we're saying. So this is just an example of how rich in ingredients and and food, the importance of food we are in Mexico, but just like a pretty picture there. For the next one. Okay, so you can see a little bit more some of the indigenous ingredients over there, and just a day in the market, things that you can get, from the zucchini blossoms to anything, chiles and such. Same here, different types of tomatoes and herbs and chiles that you can find in different markets. So this is a view from a market. And the Mexican ingredients, we have too many, like corn, chiles, beans, squashes, avocados, tomatoes, vanilla, cacao, papaya, guava, chirimoya, tobacco, nopales, agaves, edible greens, allspice, amaranth, chia, pineapples, chicle, the bubble gum, and zapotes, for example. These are the prickly pears. But imagine a world without those 3 things, 4 things. First, corn. Then what about tomatoes? What about Italian food without tomatoes? And what about vanilla? That is the most used flavoring in the world. And cacao. Who doesn't love chocolate? And now we're getting into the nixtamalización. This is a very strange word and very long, but it's coming from the Aztec, the Nahuatl, the indigenous language. And what it means is when you cook the corn, the dry corn, with limestone or also calcium dioxide, and you cook it for several hours, several times, a little bit of time in water, and then turn it off, leave it there. And then later on, after 8 hours or so, you wash it to get rid of the pericarp or the skin of the corn, and you grind it. So you have there in the metate, that volcanic stone over there, you have the corn, and then is the masa, what you see. And with that masa, it's already very nutritious because a chemical reaction happening to it. And you have a different, and Connie can tell you too, about it in a little bit, the ingredients that you can create, with that. So you have all those things, and you can make tortillas, tamales, and etc. with that. And this is the most versatile ingredient in Mexican cooking. So you can make chips, you can make tostadas, you can make tamales, you can make gorditas. So a lot of different things that you can make with the same ingredient. Then the Spanish arrived to Mexico, and then they brought a bunch of different ingredients and different things, also ways of cooking. So they brought obviously the cattle, so that's where we get the cheeses and the milk. They brought also oils and lard, and pigs and chicken and goats and stone fruits and rice and wheat, garlic, oat, cinnamon. But one of the most important things that we still have, is the dairy products that they brought with them with the cattle. So milks and goats with, also for that, and all the ingredients that came after that. So we are a country that we eat a lot of vegetables, like, indigenous vegetables, and also the ones brought, combined with, the protein of the milk and the meats. So that is, and we love cheeses in Mexico, I promise you that. So if you have any visit to any market in Mexico that is in Oaxaca, you will see different types of cheeses that we add to anything. Sometimes even just for a garnish, we add a little bit of queso fresco on top. So it's how we get into that. And then, here is a queso fundido that you can easily make with a Gouda cheese or any other. This is what I'm using, for there, that's in my restaurant, and, it's queso Oaxaca with Gouda, a combination that we make to create, balance and the flavor for a queso fundido. And then, as I said, we just grate a little bit of queso fresco on top of different things, guacamole, and this is the gazpacho moreliano from Michoacan. That is a cup of fruit with chiles and different, fruits like pineapple and mangoes and cucumbers. And then at the end, we have cheese and a little bit of chile on top, and you eat it like just a fruit and a cup. And of course, we love the dessert. So we use this as a whipped cream with meringue and some strawberries. But you can see also the recipe that you have included in the package today, which is for the tres leches cake. And we use different types of milk for that. And here we have huevos rancheros divorciados. So these are, like fried eggs on top of a tortilla. And then, like really very rich with cream on top, crema mexicana, and a little bit of queso fresco as well. So a little bit of explanation, and I guess Connie's turn right now.
Thank you, Iliana, for that wonderful culinary adventure. What a healthy inspiration. So if we think about just the difference between what so many of us, consider Tex-Mex food to this traditional, authentic Mexican cuisine, I mean, it's really a shame that we can't just share this PowerPoint with everybody and bring them on this adventure of flavor and health. Just from what I'm thinking about initially, this wide variety of colorful fruits and vegetables, endless herbs and spices, beans and legumes, and the history of the corn and the delicious dairy. It's a shame that we're so limited in our interpretation of what people really think about as Mexican food, which, when you think about the nutritional comparison, not even considering, I think we all get the flavor, adventure, and the drastic differences. But from a nutritional perspective, it's really quite significant, because here you're talking about a traditional Latin diet, which for the most part is plant forward, but with colorful, protective, nutrients from fruits and vegetables and dairy, and the balance of how these foods are combined, to a cuisine of a Tex-Mex cuisine that's really regarded as more meat forward. But more so than just the meat, it's just lacking in so much creativity of flavor and color. And this is a shame, because the studies really have concluded that loss of the traditional Mexican diet is really associated with poor nutrition, as this next generation abandons the heritage, the culture, the style of eating, and they move towards, unfortunately, a more processed, eating away from the family, from the home, less cooking, but really a big shift in the balance and the proportion of the foods, as well as the ingredients that are in themselves so healthy, as we're just looking even at this image with the colorful fruits and vegetables. So it's not a surprise that there's a Hispanic paradox. I'm sure most of you have probably heard of the French paradox, but as I was looking through the research, there's actually studies that support and use the term the Hispanic paradox. And these are studies based on the diet that is rich in legumes and fruits and dairy and colorful fruits and vegetables. And what they find is that the high level of antioxidants and the pattern of eating a plant-forward diet really offers protective benefits for the health, whether it's antioxidants or fibers or just that balance of key foods. And there was a study that I found fascinating published in the Diabetes Educator. And what they found was that when families who participated in an 8-week culturally tailored diabetes education program, which was also taught in Spanish, at the end of the program, they found significant improvements in health risk factors that were related to the foods that they were eating and the education, but they also found healthier body weights and reduced risk for diabetes. So what it really tells us is that culturally tailored diet and lifestyle programs are powerful motivators for change, and that you can really sustain healthy habits when they're culturally relevant. And, even some of the research found that another important factor was that how the foods were consumed, that lifestyle is key. And part of the traditional Latin diet is to enjoy your meals together, to cook together, to come to the table. And that's a factor that us nutritionists often disregard. We get so caught up in the numbers that we forget to celebrate the heritage. Traditional diets also substantial amount of studies finding that it's linked with decreased inflammation and improved blood sugar control. And the blood sugar control is really related to the decreased in insulin resistance. A nice study published from researchers in Seattle in the Journal of Nutrition actually scored the diet. For example, the more closer they could stay to the traditional Mexican diet, the higher the score. The more they veered away from the traditional Mexican diet, eating more processed foods, more sugar, the lower the score. And so what they found was that the greater adherence to the Mexican diet, whether it was a higher diet score, the more benefit in reducing the risk of obesity-related complications, such as insulin resistance. And this is huge because it's really putting a score to the diet. And I know that we're here to really celebrate, but I'm just here to reinforce the message that healthy eating can be found in the traditional Latin diet. So 2 guidelines that have been published that are really nice to reflect the pattern, which is really what we're talking about. It's not just one individual food in the traditional Latin diet, it's the pattern, it's the balance of how they incorporated the colorful fruits and vegetables, the dairy to make the greens taste better, or the poblano have a milder flavor, or how they use seafood, smaller amounts of meats, and their whole grains and their delicious breads and desserts. And I know we'll talk about these amazing ingredients and herbs, but the traditional Latin American diet pyramid really reflects that it can be affordable and it's easy to prepare foods from this great range of ingredients that were inspired all the way back to the Aztecs, to the Mayans, to the Indians, Incas, and also to incorporate some of the benefits that the Spanish diet brought along with it. And so it's really a reflection of history that culminated to this Latin traditional diet that can be used as a guide for modern day eating, whether it's from nutritional or just basic meal planning. To your left, I'm sorry, if we can go back just for a moment. El plato de buen comer is, I guess you could compare it to our USDA My Pyramid, but it just shows the ability to combine fruits and vegetables and to really place an importance of a plant-forward style of eating. But just wanted to share with you that there are some wonderful guides out there to translate the science and the pattern of the traditional Latin diet. So now we get to the great part. Chef?
Hello. Hello back here. Okay, well, very quickly, I would like to just very quickly demonstrate you how one of the ingredients that we're going to use today is the crema mexicana, Mexican style crema. But it's very simple. If you cannot get it, we got one in our box. So, but if you cannot get it, it's easy to make with heavy cream. Okay, so I'm gonna just put the heavy cream here. I'm making half of what is on the recipe and some buttermilk as well. And you mix it well and let it sit for 24, 48 hours. Like you just cover and leave it on the counter or somewhere that is warm. And that's about it, okay? So you can have your own crema mexicana made at home as well. And, it would be a little bit of acidic, like really delicious crema. All right, so now for the real recipe that we're gonna cook. These are the ingredients that you're gonna need. You're gonna need some chiles poblanos. So this is, okay, let me check, where am I? Okay, we have here the chile poblano. We have onion, white onion, which is a Mexican onion, and some queso fresco, and we need also some crema mexicana, as we just said. Okay, I have everything prepped, but I would like to show you how this is done.
Hey, Iliana,
Okay.
while you're
Yes.
turning the pan on there, Laura just asked, is it safe to leave the crema mexicana on the counter?
What is the reason? Okay, it needs the temperature. If you put it in the fridge, it will take maybe like a week or more. But if you keep it on the counter, it will solidify and get thicker, which is one of the things that we're looking for, a thicker cream like this. So it's basically, that's why you leave it outside.
Thank you.
All right, absolutely. Okay, I have some oil here that I'm warming up in here. And this is, for some reason, it doesn't seem like it's working. It's not warming up. Give me 1 second, and maybe I need to change.
We had another question come in that I can address while you're working on that, Iliana. So Carrie asked, what other ways can you use the crema on tacos, corn? It sounds delicious.
Yes, I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, so Carrie asked, what other ways can you use the crema on tacos, corn? It sounds delicious.
Okay, we also can use it in things like, for example, in soups. You can also drizzle your soups with that. Like a sopa de tortilla is perfect for using there. For example, this is, damn it. Okay, sorry. So that's another use that you can give to the crema mexicana. Like for soups, you can enrich them with that. But it's mostly, make a tostada, drizzle on top, those kind of things for making the rajas as well. So those are the uses for it. Sorry about that. It's, my oil, now it's, I tried to put a pretty skillet there, but it didn't work. So anyway, I have others. I just thought that would work. All right, sorry, I apologize for that. So we have here, the chile poblano. There are different ways that you can peel them because they are still raw and they have a little skin on top, on the chile that is, you don't see it here, but you can take it off, okay? So you can do it over the stove on the flame, directly on the flame if you like, or there is another way to do it, which is you make a slit, a very little slit with one pointy knife, just very little, and put it on the oil. And then it will blister. Meanwhile, we do that. I will continue here. Okay, it's still on the way. So I would recommend you, when it's blistered, the whole thing, leave it to rest for like 15 minutes or so. So I don't want to peel it while it's very hot because it will be like super, super hot in temperature. Wear gloves whenever you are working with chiles or so. Please wear gloves because they can be like really spicy on your hands. Okay, so I don't know if you're capable, but yes, okay. Once I make it earlier in the morning. Okay, so I'm just gonna peel it completely like this. So you remove the skin, either if you did it, you know, over the stove or the flame, or here like fried. Okay, you can hear in the other chile that is being fried right now how it is, and it's super simple. Either way that you do it, either on the stove or this, it's super simple. Okay, and once it's already peeled, the whole thing, what you're gonna do is make a slit, open it up, remove the stem, seeds. Okay, just like that. Perfect. Okay, and then you slice it. All right. So I'm gonna take off my clothes here now, and using a knife, you just cut it up. Okay. Small slices like this. And then you cut them in half. Okay, I have other chiles already cut, like this one. Okay. So wanted to show you about it, but that's about it.
Iliana, we had another question come in about the crema. What is the shelf life of the crema in the fridge?
It's maybe 2 weeks or more. And you see this, so it's blistering super nicely in here. I guess even more, but I would say like the safest thing to say is like 2 weeks, but even more if it's once in refrigerator. So once you crema mexicana, it is like solid, then you put it in the fridge and it can take, you know, up to 2 weeks or more, but I hope it won't last that long, okay? Because you're gonna love it and you're gonna be using it for almost everything. All right, so once the chile is all blistered like this is, then leave it, you know, to rest for a little bit and then peel it, okay? You can do this step, you know, 1 day ahead or 2 days ahead, and just leave it like that, and then before using it is when you go ahead and you know, peel it before using. So I have here all the rest of the ingredients that we're gonna do. Okay, so we have the chiles already prepped. We have our julienne onions right here. Have the crema, have the cheese, all right? And I have my pot here. I will add a little bit of oil into here. Let me know if you are looking at clear, right? And then I will add the onions. Just very little oil, is maybe like 1 teaspoon, just vegetable oil. And I will add the onions right now. Right. Saute your onions. And by the way, once you have the chile rellenos like this, you can make also chile rellenos. Just do what I did, but just, you know, keep your chile whole, and you can stuff it with cheese. Like in this case, I will use a mix of, you know, Gouda or something like it's more, not a queso fresco, but you can also do a queso fresco one. And then you can egg butter or make a sauce on top and serve it. So there are many ways that you know what else? I just remember that now that you're talking about the crema mexicana, there is one delicious recipe that you can stuff your chile relleno with beans, with a paste of beans, either pintos or black beans, and then cover with the crema mexicana, some cheese on top, and put it in the oven. Oh, come on, it comes out like super delicious. So another way to use it. Okay.
What's that dish called?
Pardon me?
What's that dish called, Iliana? The one you just described?
That dish is just chile rellenos and salsa de crema.
Ah, okay.
So it's so delicious. Your beans inside and the crema and some tortillas and rice. Come on, it's delicious. Okay, until your onions are translucent. So where we go. And you add your chiles poblanos here. Mix it well. Some salt to taste. Okay, we add the crema because the chiles are already cooked, so we don't need to wait much of cooking. all right? So we'll add the crema mexicana. Look how thick it is and beautiful.
Oh, Iliana, Anne asked, are the chilies super hot? Are they really
These are
spicy?
what?
Are the chilies very spicy?
No, not really. Actually, not at all. I mean, the poblanos are one of the milder chiles we have. Sometimes you can get one that is super spicy, but generally speaking, it won't be too spicy. And then you have the crema and the cheese that will help not to, like mild out the chile flavor. Okay, the queso fresco. Here you need a queso fresco because you don't want to melting cheese in here right now. I mean, melting cheese is delicious, but not for this dish, okay?
And then Iliana, if anyone has trouble finding poblanos, are Anaheim peppers a suitable substitute?
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a different flavor, but yes, absolutely, you can find those. Yeah, you can use substitute with that.
And then Lisa just asked, are
It's always be a fresh chili, not a dry chili, okay?
Oh, okay.
So,
Lisa,
all right, sure. Yep.
Real quick, Iliana, Lisa asked, are pasilla peppers the same as poblano?
Pasilla, no. Poblano is what it will be like when the dry version, it will be the ancho chili.
Mm.
Okay, I will taste for salt. A little bit more. But this dish is ready. The only thing
So
we
fast.
need now, excuse me?
That was so quick. It's a good
It's
one.
so quick. The prep is a little bit more on that side, but once you have everything ready, it's really no time. So.
Oh, so Steve asked, so we should not melt the cheese completely?
No, the cheese will melt. The queso fresco is not a melting cheese.
Okay.
But you won't get it melted, okay?
Interesting.
And now it's time to enjoy with some tortillas that we have here. Warm up tortillas, and you're ready to have a delicious taco of the rajas con crema. So I hope you enjoy the dish. It's really wonderful. I can promise you that. Have it, with some tortillas, and you can serve it also with, with tortillas, but also with rice. You can add other ingredients into it. Let's say some shrimp if you want to add some protein into it, or you can serve it along with a piece of meat or fish or something and just a side dish. But you can also incorporate some shrimp here, and it's looking really delicious. Use it as a sauce on top, making it into with a pasta. So there are many uses for this. Obviously, my favorite is in a good tortilla, and you put it into it. So that is absolutely my favorite. I hope you had enjoyed it. Any questions, please let me know.
Just one more came in. You kind of touched on it there, but so is this a side dish or is it considered an entree? And it sounds like it can be a bit of both.
It could be a little bit of both, It's like a salad. It could be a side dish, but if you add shrimp or steak or something, that is a main course. So this is a side dish or an appetizer. But if you combine it with other things, then it could be, like an entree, if you wish.
And then Lisa asked, will you show how you would serve it? So how you would serve it in the tortilla?
Yes. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Let me bring another plate for that. Sorry, it's going to be a white one now. I don't like the white ones for the TV, but here we go. So you just have your tortilla warm. This is not that warm anymore. And you put it right here and you just enjoy it like this. This is one way. All right. So
and then
that's how we do it.
Another question, this is actually my question. How do you prefer to warm your tortillas? Do you warm them in the oven or on a skillet? What is the best way?
That's my favorite thing. This is called comal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very thin, it's very cheap. You can find it in most of them in the United States, in most of the Mexican markets. And they're very cheap, by the way. They last forever. They don't rust, they don't stain, nothing, So you just wash it even with the silver scrubbies or something, and that would be perfect. And you just put your tortilla right on top and heat it up. It just is, this one work in the stove that I was using. So, but the only thing you need is just warm it up, and then the tortilla will be pliable and super delicious. We make those in the restaurant. So these are actually very good, the ones you send, but those are the ones we make with our own nixtamal. All that process that I explained to you is what we do in the restaurant.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think you're gonna have a lot of people coming to Austin to come eat at your restaurant after this. So we have a couple more questions coming in. So if people were to use the Mexican style sour cream as a substitute for the homemade crema mexicana, we had someone ask, did you use the whole carton, or how much would you use of that?
Of this, I use, it was brand new, I used like half for this amount. But if you want it like more creamy, I mean, a lot of people like it more creamy, on the creamy side, like more liquidy, then you can add a little bit more. But most more or less is like a 1 cup or so.
Okay. Wonderful. And then we had another question come in. Can you tell me what is bucket cheese?
What is the bucket cheese?
Yeah.
Okay, bucket cheese is queso canasta. I think that is what they're referring to. And it's also queso fresco.
Okay.
So also, it's just, like if you get back into the PowerPoint, there was a picture of the quesos in Oaxaca, and there is one that it has like a rim of reed, and that is the mold. So it's called like that, canasta, or also some colanders that they put it in, so they look like with this mesh kind of thing. So those are those type of cheeses. But you can use those because either the panela, the queso fresco, they won't melt. So you want a non-melting cheese for this recipe.
Okay. And then last question, and then we'll get back to learning more from the presentation. So Elaine said, it sounds like both pasilla and poblano can be used interchangeably, even though they're different peppers. Is that correct?
The pasilla is normally referred, it's just, the naming. Okay, this is a warm tortilla, so it's more flexible. You can do more things. Okay. Right. It's a little bit confusing sometimes because in different areas in Mexico, we have the same chiles, but they are called differently in different areas. So sometimes the poblano is called pasilla, but remember, it should be ancho or poblano. I mean, it's wide on the shoulders and turned into a point, and it's green, dark green. Okay. And it's long, about, almost one large hand. So that is very important to see because you can get different names for the chiles. So this one, when it's dried, is an ancho, and no, you cannot substitute for the same recipe. The whole procedure will be different. So look for this, or for the Anaheim in case that you cannot find this. Pasilla normally is a long black dried chile. Okay, and when it's fresh, it's called chilaca. So it's a different chile. So look for this, especially, or the Anaheim. If you are more familiar with the Anaheim, look for that. This is called poblano.
All right. So I think those are all the questions from the chat right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And we'll get back to, I think we're starting back off with you again, Iliana. Here we go.
All right. So we're going to share, we'll go back and forth with Connie on this ones. But, it's very important to see how the things, the traditional diet in Mexico. So imagine you are before the Spaniards, and this is what they do. They do what is called la milpa mexicana, where essentially it's like a cornfield, but not only a cornfield. Because in the milpa in Mexico, we not only grow one ingredient, it's not a monocultivar. We have also squashes growing in the same, chiles, tomatoes, and beans. And also that will enrich the dirt. So you will have a richer, and more nutritious ingredients when they grow with different flavors and things like that. And you can basically eat from your milpa. So you have a full diet right there, because once you mix two very important things in the Mexican diet, which is the corn, processed corn, as I mentioned with you, processed in the nixtamalization way, that chemical reaction that develops niacin and calcium and other things, and you mix it with beans, then you have a full diet right there. So you don't need any extra things. So that's why the pre-Hispanic people, the pre-Columbian people, they didn't need much more because they have everything right there. They get to the knowledge that with those two ingredients that they grow in nature, they can create a full diet. Connie, something that you want to share on the milpa side?
I'm sorry. Oh, and I think you just worded it perfectly. And from a nutritional standpoint, as Iliana mentioned, it's everything they needed nutrition-wise was there to sustain them in terms of protein, And as she mentioned, this was before the Spaniards, before they introduced the meat. So they were actually achieving a very strong, healthy diet with plenty of protein from plants in these very smart combinations.
This is one of the most, I mentioned several times, I knew that was coming in eventually in one of the slides here, the chiles en nogada. This is a very famous dish in Mexico and I guess throughout the world. And it's a seasonal dish from Puebla. And it's, you know, like a chile relleno, exactly, one poblano, like that, in the way, you know, peel it and all, then stuffed with a mixture of, I mean, hundreds of things, I guess. It has meats. It has also a lot of flavorings, onion, tomatoes, tomatillos. It has plantains and apples and pears. And what else it has? I mean, sort of many things. And then the sauce is made out of cheese, cheese and cream and peeled walnuts. So seasonal, because it's the time of the year, you know, the end of August in Mexico and in September and the beginning of October, that we have fresh pomegranates available, the same as the walnuts are fresh. So the people peel the walnuts one, by hand. They put them to soak in milk, so they get a little bit softer, and then they peel it. So the important thing also, not only the dish is beautiful and pretty and everything else like that, but also it's mostly every family gets together to cook this. So some people, they will happen, you know, like several afternoons doing, and it's what is important in Mexico, that you have the family, the friends all together, you know, in one house, cooking together and sharing stories and do all that, what we call the sobremesa. After a meal, you enjoy with the family and your friends and share stories and know how the day was for everyone, or how is your week has been going. And that creates also a sort of community. Connie, something about it?
Yes, going back to that beautiful slide, this happens to be one of those recipes that was celebrated in my family for more of a traditional holiday, because it is quite special, and it's wonderful to see this image. And it just, you know, from a culinary nutrition perspective, you know, the dairy that you see, the cheese and the cream that was used to make that beautiful white sauce, that is that rich hand that lends to very lean ingredients that balances the flavor. But from a health perspective, when you combine forms of dairy and even the chopped walnuts that you see with dark greens like the poblano that is in this dish, you're actually providing a dream team combination of nutrients where the body can better absorb some of the health properties that are in the chilies, and whatever the vitamin C that is contained in the poblano actually helps the body absorb the calcium that is within the cheese. So not only is a work of art from a culinary perspective, but when you study the science and how foods come together to really protect you, from the vitamin C of the pomegranates to the chilies to the wonderful calcium and vitamin D, I think this is really a work of art and so delicious.
So when you had one like this, and you know, in the restaurant when we serve them, people ask us what it comes with. It's like nothing. That's a perfect dish by its own. Not even tortillas. You don't need rice. You don't need anything. You have one dish, one chili, one beautiful plate. That's what you need. Okay, going back a little bit about the corn. So quesadillas. For the quesadillas, I will use like a Gouda or a Mexican cheese like Oaxaca cheese, or one of the jacks, or one like melting cheese. You want a melting cheese for this one.
Oh,
Cacao.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's always tricky on Zoom. Iliana and I are so used to having conversation in our presentations, but that just looks amazing, quesadillas. But, you know, research has just come out, really fascinating research that dairy and particularly fermented cheeses can really have beneficial changes in the microbiome of the gut. What does this mean? It means that you're really improving the population of the gut bacteria. And when you change this environment in the gut from the microflora, you're actually reducing risk factors that are related to inflammation in the body, heart disease, diabetes, possibly even obesity. And that's really exciting new research where dairy, fermented cheese can actually change the environment within your gut. Just had to add that little bit of science there to this beautiful dish.
Great. And cacao, I mentioned the cacao per se was originated in the Amazon basin, but it was just like that. They eat the fruit, it's like a pod that you see in the back. That is the fruit, and it's full of like a white flesh, almost like cotton-like, and then they have the seeds. So the seeds are what we call cacao, actually, but they come like that. So the people in Brazil and that area, they used to spit them out because they didn't know what to do with them. So when it reaches this fruit, reaches the peninsula of Yucatan, they began to ferment the cocoa beans, and then that's how they began to create the chocolate. I mean, as we know now, it's just a drink that it was frothy with something like this to make the chocolate, and that's how you get the chocolate drink. But that's the basic. Of course, they didn't have sugars in those days. So it was more like a savory dish, savory beverage than actually a sweet drink as we know now the chocolate is. If you try the cocoa bean like directly like that, it's kind of bitter. So be careful. Sometimes when you eat a cocoa, in a spoon or something, and it's really bitter. So be careful with that. Connie, is your...
Well, speaking of bitter, in nutrition, bitter is healthy. It tends to be. And it plays such an important culinary role to balance the bitter flavors. So when you're looking at, chocolate that is, let's say, greater than 68, 70% of cacao, you are going to get those rich, deep, dark flavors that tend to be bitter. But from a nutritional standpoint, those bitter flavors mean health. Those are properties coming from the antioxidants that in research have been found to improve blood circulation and to act as powerful antioxidants, which tells you that there's a role for how you combine these dark, bitter flavors in savory cooking, such as in maybe some of the moles, or in sweet, wonderful desserts, or just alone. Some of the best coffee I have had has had, wonderful traces and hints of dark chocolate. And it's just wonderful to see how you can combine these big personality flavors that don't always have to be mild and sweet and buttery flavored chocolate. The dark chocolate is really healthy and wonderful tool in the kitchen.
And here we have a beautiful, scene of a market, lots of fruits, delicious native fruits from the Americas mostly. I will say, like, we have guayabas, we have chirimoyas on the back, we have all the things. So just, how you see the markets in Mexico.
And I think, oh, sorry.
No, that's it. There you go. Okay. There you go.
Just looking at this beautiful image, I can only see how it inspired so many artists with those vibrant colors. And from a nutritional standpoint, if you can remember, the more colorful variety of ingredients that you have, the more protective health benefits. And what's really amazing is how you can combine them and how they come alive, as you see in the next slide, with what we call power pairings or dream team combinations of foods that you actually can exert more health benefits by how traditionally they naturally combine these foods together. There's no reason to repeat history or to reinvent the wheel. It's really following the inspiration. For example, combining lean meats with a wonderful salsa that is rich in vitamin C helps to the body to absorb the iron. It's more bioactive, but it just aids that combination. It's a synergistic effect. When we saw the greens and that poblano pepper that had the wonderful walnuts and the cream cheese and the pomegranate sprinkled above, that's a wonderful way to absorb the antioxidants that were in the greens that otherwise, if you ate the poblano all alone, you wouldn't have the benefit of that power pairing. And we talked about the beans and the corn combined with vitamin C as an excellent way to absorb iron and protein, and the dairy with the vitamin C for calcium absorption. So it's interesting when you look at the culinary arts that you have the wisdom of enjoying these flavor combinations, the traditional diets and the traditional recipes and methods of combining these ingredients. But when you take a step back and you look at the science behind the art, it's absolutely amazing how the combinations are really to exert the most benefit in the body. And it's something that we as scientists, probably could have not figured out how to do it in such a delicious way. It's beyond a vitamin pill. And power pairings are a new way of stressing the importance of really looking at the pattern of how we study these traditional diets and not just identify one key ingredient, but really take advantage of understanding the pattern. So as we start to, come to an end of this presentation, at least for my nutrition presentation, I want to leave you with a few messages that delicious Mexican flavors can be used to leverage healthy ingredients. For example, beans and the greens taste so much better with the Oaxacan cheese sprinkled above it, or the combination of herbs such as cilantro and epazote, and even mint and some ingredients. And I saw that image of the fruit with a little bit of the dried cheese. So really understanding how to combine and leverage healthy ingredients is key to inspiring healthy eating. And the importance of preserving these traditional diets and ingredients, not only for the family support and for just the sheer enjoyment, but we actually have studies that have confirmed that preserving these cultures and the heritage of cooking together, eating together, and staying close to these traditional diets can really inspire cultural healthy changes, to inspire more cooking at home, to enjoy the meals, but to also to live healthier. So if you want to explore more, I know that between Chef Iliana and I, we've referred to many old traditional recipes, to scientific studies. We put together a list of references and literature to help guide you and to support this presentation.
All right. Well, Iliana and Connie, thank you so much. We are now to the time where we're going to take in some questions because we had quite a few come in. And for everyone on the line, Chef Iliana and Connie's contact information, as well as a couple websites, are on the screen, but you'll get this information in a follow-up email, and it'll be available on our Dairy World Tour website as well. But let's go ahead and answer some questions. So, okay. Let's start with this one. So one of our attendees asked this question: are there a couple of basics one should know about choosing peppers for Mexican recipes?
How to choose them? Okay, I will suggest you to get maybe a book. There is a little booklet from Mark Miller by 10 Speed Press that just has the picture of the chile, brief description. So it's a good guide. If you're going and you don't know anything about chiles, and you want to buy chiles, and because you have a book of Mexican recipes, that's the easiest way. He also designed thousands of years ago, not really, also a poster with the same information. You can see them in the dried and the fresh chiles from Mexico. It's also from Mark Miller, and both are from 10 Speed Press. I think it's the best guide that you can get. I mean, the booklet is kind of easy, but if you have a space, it could be a cute poster for your kitchen. And so that's how you choose it. Now, if it's about how to pick them when you are in the market or anywhere, try that you get very shiny, when fresh, very shiny chiles like this, not wrinkled. They don't look old or anything. They look like perfect young chile, okay? That is what you're looking for, either a jalapeno or a serrano, the little ones more spicy, or the large ones like this.
Wonderful. Okay, and then another question came in. This one's for you as well, Iliana. So what is the salsa verde cochita that is used in the enchiladas verde recipe, which came in their box.
Yes, okay. It's a very simple salsa, it's the basic salsa in Mexican cooking, and cocida is cooked. So if you need tomatillos, chiles, onion, garlic, and cilantro. Okay, you cook all the first ingredients, leaving the cilantro alone, and then you put them in the blender, and then add the cilantro, and then you cook it. You put a little bit of oil in a pot, and then you add the salsa verde, and then you cook it a little bit. So that is, if you are using all the ingredients, the same ingredients, but all of them raw or uncooked, then it will be like salsa verde cruda. So.
And also for everyone, so Iliana provided us that recipe, and it wasn't in the box, but it is on our Dairy World Tour Mexico website. So we'll make sure we share that with you as well. So when you're making the enchiladas, you can use her recipe for the salsa too. Okay, and then there was a question that we think was referring to the chiles on nogada. Sorry, I'm probably saying that wrong, but is it a holiday dish? And Connie, you kind of touched on this. I think you were saying your family used it as a holiday dish.
Well, we certainly enjoyed it during the holidays. I don't know if traditionally it's part of the holidays, but in our family in South Texas, that recipe and chile rellenos were very close to Christmas holidays for our family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a personal family choice. The chile has its date. They started on August 27th, which is the day that it was the birthday of one of our heroes in Iturbide, and it's supposed that it was prepared for him the first time in Puebla. So we start that day and until the beginning of October, serving that dish, generally speaking. Of course, you can make it, in other times, but that is the traditional time frame for the dish every year.
Ah, so interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Iliana. Another question came in. So any tips on making guacamole?
Oh, yes. Well, not related to this, but in a way, yes. It's the most famous one, right? You don't need a molcajete. A molcajete is the volcanical stone, grinding stone. You don't need one of that for making your guacamole. You just mash your avocados, try to get them like firm, but not hard. But they are also not mushy, like if you touch it and it shouldn't yield anything, okay? So open up, remove the stone, and then scoop them out, put them in a bowl, and with a potato masher, mash them a little bit, and add tomatoes, cilantro, chiles, and white onions, always white onions, please. Salt and lime juice, and that's it. You mix it well and put it in a bowl, and you can sprinkle with some queso fresco on top and serve it with tostadas or totopos, or to make tacos as well with that tortilla. Those are delicious too. So very simple, very easy, fresh. No garlic, please. No cream in that one, but you can put cheese on top, but no cream. No yogurt, no mayonnaise, because I have seen all those type of recipes in the United States, and please don't do it that way.
We will follow that recommendation.
Okay.
Okay, and then another one came in. Iliana, this is for you. This was referring, I believe, to your Mexican culinary tradition. So someone asked, I love to travel and learn about food. Can you tell us more about the Mexico food tour that was mentioned?
Yes, of course. Yeah, normally they're like short tours. We only take 12 people, so they're very small as well. And we go to very beautiful hotels in Mexico that they treat us like kings and queens, of course. And we eat all day long. And there is one day that we have a cooking session. I won't refer it as a cooking class because I won't provide you recipes at the beginning. We will go to the market, buy whatever is available and is fresh and beautiful, and or anything that somebody has in mind. And if we find it, we will go to a beautiful kitchen and then we'll cook it. Then we all share the meal together. And that is, the day of cooking. And that day also, we normally have somebody, depending on the area, but in Oaxaca, we have somebody making fresh cheese in front of us. So they make the queso Oaxaca, that with the string one. And they also make queso fresco right in front of us. And we have somebody making tortillas and all those things. So it's a very fun day. But the rest of the days we eat and we do a lot of things in between to be hungry for the next meal. So we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all is included. Not shopping, I don't include shopping ever, and also not alcohol, but otherwise everything is included. It's really fun. We enjoy it. I love to share a little bit more about my country, what I'm proud of. Of course, there are bad things too, but I like to share the beautiful things of my country with the people.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic experience, and that website for her Mexican culinary traditions is also on the slide. So you guys will have all that information. You can go check out the site itself and find out more. That was it for the questions, Connie and Iliana. We have so many very nice presentations, thank yous coming in the chat. Someone said, Connie, such a great presentation. Thank you for your passion. Love the power pairing slide. Dream team combination of food. So, I just want to say thank you, Connie and Iliana. I feel like you guys are a power pairing. This was a fantastic presentation. Everyone that's still on the line, don't jump off yet. We have one more surprise for you and then a teaser for our Greek episode. So hold on 1 minute. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So typical of all our Dairy World Tour episodes, we do a giveaway at the end. And so this episode's giveaway is amazing. It comes with an enchiladas cookbook, which was recommended by Iliana, all sorts of different enchilada recipes and some really neat history in there. Caliente chocolate Mexicano mugs to make your Mexican hot chocolate recipes, a molcajete, Mexican napkins, tortilla press, and a skillet. So we have selected a random attendee today. And so I would like to say congratulations to Kimmy Sycamore. You're the raffle winner. We'll reach out to you after the episode and get your information to send you your gift. So again, everyone, thank you so much for joining today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. Cannot say thank you enough to Connie and Iliana. This was fantastic. Our next episode is on June 30th from 12 to 1:15 p.m. Mountain Time, and we are visiting Greece. So we hope to see all of you there, and we're going to show you a little teaser for the video or for the next episode now. Have a great day, everyone.
Welcome to my Mediterranean kitchen. I'm Serena Ball, registered dietitian, contributor to Food Network, and author of 2 best-selling Mediterranean cookbooks. My first, with over 35 recipes inspired by Greece, and my second easy everyday Mediterranean diet cookbook with over 40 recipes inspired by my love of Greek cuisine and my travels to Greece. Join me in June.